Um, James, what was your motivation for making a film about dyslexia?
Well, my wife and I discovered that my son was really struggling to read when he was about 6 years old. And it was mystifying because he was so bright, so intelligent, so great in conversation. And we couldn't figure out what it was. And was it laziness? Was he checked out? Was he, what was going on? And in due time, with my wife being an educator for 26 years, she was able to figure out that it was probably dyslexia and sent him in to be evaluated, and he received the diagnosis when he was 9. So going through that whole experience and then helping him hang on to his self-esteem and confidence as he went through the school system and always struggled to read. Never got easy. He just learned to cope with it. And see him, grow up and become his own man. I think we really sympathize with what it's like, my wife and I, for parents that face that same situation. So the motivation for the film was to try to give a tool to parents and families who maybe are dealing with the diagnosis for the first time and trying to understand what it all means. And that's why it's called The Big Picture. Here's the big picture of the situation. I hope it's helpful.
Fantastic. I think it'll really help. The Big Picture movie features several successful individuals with dyslexia. Do you hope the film will encourage more people in the public eye to speak out about their dyslexia?
I hope that anybody who is in a position who represents a person of esteem and accomplishment that knows they're dyslexic should feel comfortable speaking about it, because it just demonstrates what's possible. That doesn't mean that everybody with dyslexia should or would want to aspire to be a notable politician or a business tycoon or a constitutional lawyer, as the characters are in my film. But what it does represent is that if you have a passion or a dream to accomplish something, dyslexia will not get in your way if you have the right kind of education. And there's a specific way to teach dyslexics how to read, and we need to get that to them.
Absolutely. Do you feel the film is only suitable for a dyslexic audience?
No, if you really look at the statistics, which is that 20% of the human beings currently walking this planet are dyslexic. That means that most of us know somebody, and you're even related to somebody with dyslexia. And if you don't understand what it is, and you see what looks like sloppy handwriting, or you see misspelling, or you watch someone stumble to read something aloud and you by chance make a comment, oh, you're sloppy or you're stupid, that's really damaging. And I guarantee you that anybody that sees this movie will come away giving it a second thought as to how they respond to those kinds of things.
How do you feel about the film being screened in the UK?
The UK was inspiring to me as I was starting out doing my research for this film. When I went online and looked at what was going out there in the world, the UK was a bright spot. There was a lot of interesting information being given out by kids and teachers and programs. It's a particularly active community around this issue. That isn't to say that they don't have a lot of work cut out for them. Groups like, Dyslexia Action, they are out there working hard because they have to, because there's still a long way to go in terms of getting rid of stereotypes and treating myths and misinformation. So I think while the UK is really one of the leaders in getting the word out there, we could every country, everybody needs to look at this a little bit more deeply.
I do. Excuse me. At Dyslexia Action, we're working to improve teachers' knowledge about dyslexia to encourage early intervention in schools. In your opinion, what is the most important step to support dyslexia learners?
I have done a number of films in my life that have to do with trying to promote positive change around problems that exist out there. One of the things you start to look for when you do projects like that is, what's the most simple solution? What's the big move you can make that can create the biggest amount of change? And there's no doubt that the teaching colleges, we have so many bright young people that get into teaching and education, and they want to do a good job, and they want to be able to teach everybody in their classroom. Well, 1 in 5 students in their classroom are going to be dyslexic. They need to know how to teach those kids. And there are very clear ways to teach them if you just teach teachers how to teach dyslexics. It will work. And right now, it's not happening in the States. And my understanding is it's not happening here as much as it should either. So really, if we can get teaching colleges to recognize dyslexia and help teachers learn how to teach dyslexics, that would be a huge step.
Fantastic. For my final question, I'd like to ask, as a parent of a dyslexic son, do you have any words of support for the many parents of dyslexic children who we hear from every day?
I think the first thing I would say is don't panic. Take a deep breath. Realize that what you're looking at with your 6 or 7-year-old child and their struggles is not an indication of how hard life's going to be for them as they grow up and pursue their own dreams. It's the early years when it really is about the mechanics of learning to read and write and do basic math and these sort of the mechanical parts of learning. That's when dyslexia is particularly hard, because that's really what the learning is about at that age. But as kids get older, other skills come into play. They have to start, it's not about what words can you write, but how do you use them? Can you express yourself originally? Can you read great literature and come up with unique ideas about it? Can you draw parallels in history? Can you do abstract thinking? And the older you get, the more those skills come into play. And those are the kind of skills that dyslexics very often have in spades. So parents need to understand that the situation that they're facing with their young child is a particularly tough time, and just be patient, because it will get better.
Well, thank you very much. They could well turn to Richard Branson, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. Dyslexia Action out.